Better. Two dudes watch cartoons. Two dudes watch cartoons. Yeah.
Welcome back to Two Dudes Watch Cartoons, the podcast where two dudes, that is us, watch cartoons. My name is Evan.
And my name is Alex. Normally, this is where I praise, I sing the song of how awesome our subject matter is today. I shall not, but I will sing some praise for our guest today. We have my younger brother, Brendan Smith, joining us. Always a pleasure. It's been a while since you've been on. We have a mysterious unreleased episode that was supposed to cover for while I was gone on the circle that we never ended up using. And so it has been a while for you. Brendan, how are you doing? Say hi to everyone.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. I gotta say, I was more excited to talk about this movie before I saw it. But nonetheless, I'm excited to be here.
Brings me to my first point. We're covering the sequel, number 2, in a 5-part trilogy. Mm-hmm. If you haven't, it's obviously Avatar. Everyone knows it's Avatar, not The Last Airbender.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I can't even do this. Not the real Avatar. I can't even give this a proper intro right now. So we are covering James Cameron's Avatar: Way of Water. We'll get it out there. Me and Evan, for the past year, honestly, have been ragging on this like hardcore. Mm-hmm. We went and saw it. That way, if you are not wanting to contribute to the box office, you don't have to. We're going to give you all the deets. Or if you feel disillusioned like we did, we have Brendan here, who's going to be a great perspective for us. Before he went and saw the movie, he was he was pointing fingers at us and said, "You guys just wait."
Yeah, I to be fair, you guys were very outwardly hating it.
We were haters.
Preying on its downfall.
Yeah. We were
not just hating, you were preying on its downfall.
There's a lot of
you guys were in the I want to see James Cameron lose camp, which I get, but I have to respect the fact that this man has made Titanic and the Terminator, and both times people told him the movie wasn't gonna be good.
That is fair.
Same with the first Avatar, A lot of people said this movie's kind of, and then it came out and it was the number 1 movie ever in the box office. So
to be fair, I think, yes, we've been hard on this movie coming out, and we might be hard on it today. But what we have always contended is that the first movie was fine. It was a good movie.
Yes,
it was.
Where we disagree with a large majority of people, apparently, is that it is the greatest movie ever made, and people are singing the praises of this one as well. And the tell is, you can ask someone dead on, you can say, was it a good movie? And they'll say, the visuals were great. That's not the question I asked. That is not the question I asked. I'm not shopping for a TV. Was it a good movie? And they're like, the story's a little bit better than last time. It's like, okay, therein lies the admission that Avatar is not the greatest movie to have ever been.
The story was a little bit better than last time.
That's more up for debate than whether it was good or not.
Okay, wait. We are going to, I know how the tone of this podcast is going to go. So you guys don't have to join me, but I do at the top here. I want to give some things I liked. Because I came in with a really low bar. I was actually, me and Evan were fresh off seeing it this morning. We are doing a full day of Avatar. So I went to the theater. I was really dreading it, if I'm being honest. I was really not looking forward to it. I FaceTimed Brendan beforehand, and I was like, oh, there's a crowd. This place isn't even open. I was just like, the whole vibe was off for me. And so I get there, though, and I saw it in IMAX. I saw it in 3D. I had not seen an IMAX or a 3D movie in a while. I did enjoy that. I won't lie. I enjoyed that part of it. That was cool. The other thing, I do think the story this time around is a little more memorable than the first one. I really want to get a little in there. I enjoyed bits of it. I really liked some of the new younger characters that they included. Couldn't tell you most of their names. And the last thing is, I think for me, I understand this is cutting edge technology. It's the best CGI on the planet. The first one, I just never clicked for me that I was like seeing something awe or inspiring or great. Like, I think it was the forest. All this to get to my point. When they left the forest and went to the water, the visuals for me were much more clicking. But that being said, I don't know if this is a praise or a diss. The whole movie looked like a video game cutscene to me. I'm not kidding. And once you get that in your head, I
understand what you mean. Yeah,
it's stuck with me. And a lot of the scenes, because they don't have a ton of plot, felt like a video game cutscene.
You'll be interested to hear that James Cameron and his team at Digital Domain, they're like the company that is the forefront of all this CGI stuff.
Yeah.
They built their water tank to film this in specifically so that it wouldn't look like a video game, because the standard method in Hollywood is to not film people in water using the motion capture. They just add the water later. That's why the water looks so good with the CGI.
Yeah,
but
the water looks great.
I do agree with you. It does look very cutscene-y, and there are times where you can just tell, looking at something like the animals that are full CGI, you can just tell they're not real, and they didn't really use anything to like model off of that. But the one thing that Avatar does really well is, and better than any other movie, I would say, is they are able to put CGI and real people next to each other, and it looks more real than any other movie, I would say.
Besides Who Framed Roger Rabbit? No, I'm just kidding. No, I agree with you. That is a good point. Yeah.
So, yes, I agree. In the wild, the Na'vi and the humans look pretty good next to each other. But one thing about this movie that kind of
bad in the spaceships, though.
In the spaceships, I thought it looked like Spy Kids 3D. Like
it does.
It really does. Look, it looked like a cartoonish set. Anytime they're inside a ship, and they're, oh my god,
Spy Kids 3D.
Also, the dude in charge of the speed, why was he like black shades, like Men in Black, like Top Gun? Like, he was so out of place.
So, there was
James
a lot
Cameron loves Oakleys.
There is a lot out of place here, and I'm excited to get to it. Evan, what few praises do you have before we really like dive in? Not to put you on the spot.
I liked. I did like their family going and assimilating into the new tribe. That was kind of cool.
It was. No, I agree.
And I liked the final battle scenes, the fighting on the ship as it's sinking.
That was the best part of the whole movie to me.
That was the best part. I was like, oh, I finally sat up in my chair and I was like, oh, we're getting somewhere.
So even though that was the best part, I got some complaints, so we can get to it. But here is overall biggest complaint number one, and I'm sure you guys can agree. This movie 100% could have been it could have been 2 hours long.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
They needed to cut the middle hour out of the movie.
Holy shit. And that's where they lost me. That's where they lost me.
Yeah. Oh. Let's let Brendan sing a few praises.
He had what some, but do you have any more?
I guess in terms of praises, really the big thing is here's the real bottom line is they didn't go into this movie trying to push the boundaries in terms of narrative. Like I'm pretty sure he wrote this like back in 95. Like it wasn't,
doesn't surprise me.
It's not like a huge developing story that he spent a ton of time on. They really made this movie to push the VFX. And like you said, Evan, you're not shopping for TVs. You're here to see a movie. So that's, I think, where it loses people. It's like, yes, this is an incredible, marvelous feat of a film, but it's like you're drowning in turquoise concrete. And, it's hard to sit through when it's 3 hours and the story isn't too enticing. All of my praises really come from the technical aspects. I just think from a narrative point of view, it was done kind of lazy. Like, why were there so many characters that came back from the first one after it was basically presumed that they were done, that they were gone?
This was the most mind-boggling part of the whole movie. They're doing like a summary of the wrap-up of the first movie. They're like, we fell in love, we beat the sky people, They took off. All of them left. We're good. And then I shit you not, 5 minutes of exposition. We got family. We're all good. And they're like, oh no, they're back. What? What? It's so bad. It literally was the same plot. Honestly, this felt like the movie he was trying to make with one, but he got caught up in the whole body switching Avatar plot of it. And this, to me, because it had so many of the same themes, it had so many of the same
movie.
It was literally the same.
A little bit,
like,
yeah.
Theatrical.
His overarching theme is, save the planet, and he did it with the forest, and now he does it with the water, and the animals. We can get into the white savior of it all too, coming to save the indigenous people. Like, of course, the one white guy. And ready for this? They added a new white savior in Spider. Literally, the two white guys. Why does he look like Tarzan? I don't get it.
Not only is it one more white savior, it's a white guy with dreads.
I know. It's so they picked the biggest prototype Tarzan character they could have.
I liked
built.
Spider. I did really like Spider.
Did you? Why?
I did.
He was riding the fence the whole time, and it pissed me off.
Yeah.
I thought he should have died at the end.
That's not his fault.
Zoe Saldana should have killed that. He's caught
between two worlds. He's very Tarzan.
I mean, he's going to be a villain in like 4 or 5.
I thought he was going to join the general.
He's
Yeah,
definitely going to be up that alley.
When Zoe Saldana's character, who shall remain nameless because I don't know her name, when she grabbed Spider and was like threatening him with the Colonel, and he was like, I don't care. Like, that was the most captivating part of the whole movie to me. And so I became interested in the Spider storyline now.
Sure.
I go, wow, is he still really going to trust these Na'vi? And he did go back. But I mean, obviously we know there's more movies we could. That's the other thing. This movie was so predictable. I think like
it is.
I predicted almost every single beat that was going to happen, except for the boring, long, fucking drawn out shots. Didn't predict those.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them.
Yeah. That's the last quarter of the movie. Jake Sully's son, spoilers, dies, and just before the climactic battle, and I was like, oh, like that was probably the first time during this 3-hour movie that I like felt something. I was like, oh, I care about how this story gets resolved.
Yeah, I was sad until I realized I didn't know his name.
Yeah,
they managed to say Jake Sully every 5 minutes on the dot.
So Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldana both return. They have a litter of kids in this movie.
Zoe kind of returned.
Yeah, has nothing to do in this movie.
She's really benched the whole movie. It was really odd because I mean, I guess Sam is famous, but like she's like the star in my opinion. I thought. Yeah. I guess I was wrong in that.
Yeah, and it just felt undisturbed at the end. So they're connecting to the underwater tree this time, and it literally shows her plugging into the Matrix. And then it opens up to Jake Sully. It opens up to Jake Sully's moment of mourning with his son, which is a moment I think we should have. But again, it's like
she didn't get her own.
She just sees it real quick, and she's very much an afterthought in this whole movie. She gets some cool action moments, but I think she was a little bit robbed.
Narratively, she was the mother who was, I don't want to leave my baby. She had so little lines. It was really shocking to me. That's why I don't even remember her name.
It's bad, but all of this, you got to think of it like a season of television, because that's how they're treating it while they're making it. It's, that her story's probably going to come in the next movie or the next movie. Like, that's just how they do it. And
something like that. This was another complaint of mine, is he's speaking full Na'vi, but he's still got his Mark Wahlberg dialect. Like, it just, like, he never switched over to outside of English.
Mark Wahlberg.
He literally, at one point, was like, what's wrong, baby girl? And I was like, shut up. The Na'vi do not say that. Like, God. I was like, oh, my Lord. And it's just, he literally is Mark Wahlberg throughout the movie. They're shooting arrows and riding. And he's like, not me. I use my guns still. Like, it's just... But, like I said, I think story-wise, this was more of like Na'vi versus government, where the first one was all entangled. Like, I was so glad we did not spend so much time on the body switching, because that was just like that felt so unnecessary to the plot. And it really, like, God, could you imagine how long this movie would have been if he had a whole subplot on people still going into avatars and things?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was so glad we were done with that. And I liked his family. So, like, to give it a little more praise, like, the family dynamic of it was what held down the movie.
That's true. It was like Avatar 1 plus a little bit of like Lilo and Stitch family themes thrown in there. Slowly stick together.
It was a found family. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a creative choice I don't agree with. Why is Sigourney Weaver playing the adopted daughter? That was so off-putting.
She played the daughter?
Yeah.
It was
Her
so
own-
weird.
That makes sense.
It was
The
like
V-daughter.
Makes
it was
so
like
much sense.
her like figurative like spirit that lives on and has like some detached memory from her old form.
She's
also,
also
like-
Navi Jesus, right?
And
The reason
it's
we're
so
covering
bad.
this, if you haven't caught it, is this is the world's most expensive animated movie. This literally
most expensive
ever.
movie, potentially?
Yeah, but it's
Yes,
animated.
I think so.
I feel
Yeah.
after leaving the theater, I feel 1,000% comfortable calling this an animated movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it needs $2 billion to profit. So take
Yeah.
that.
Wait, I thought it just
for what
needed
it's worth.
over $1 billion. Why does it need $2 billion? Walk me through
It needs
that.
$2 billion to
I
profit.
thought it cost $1 billion to make though.
Yeah, but then there's
it
marketing
caught
costs. in there,
marketing,
which is
distribution.
not. Yeah.
James Cameron was
Yeah.
a one-man marketing team for this, and I actually want to talk about this with you guys.
Okay.
I think James Cameron literally this whole last 2 years was just making headlines, saying whatever about this movie solely to make headlines. I think James Cameron, more than anyone else, is a PR man. I think that's all he did. The whole bathroom thing and the holy fuck to Avatar 4 script, and even just announcing it was a 5-part series 20 years after the fact or whatever. Like, it's all just to nab headlines so people go and spend money on this movie.
Yeah. I think I can imagine being in his position where he might feel like his back's against the ropes a little bit. He's done this great achievement in film, technically. It's one of the biggest box
He
office
says
earners
technically.
of all time. And because it got so much, in my opinion, unwarranted praise, or I mean, maybe it is warranted, misdirected praise, let's say. It also got a lot of misdirected hate. And so I think maybe he's like coming out fist swinging because he's like, well, like, don't you guys see what I've done?
I think he's doubling down also.
He's doubling down. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's like
go
this
ahead.
lost correlation between like sales and like enjoyment in the theater. Like people see this large number that Avatar had in the past of like, there's like this giant box office movie. It's the best movie ever. But really, I mean, it was kind of like the Wii of movies. Like the Wii came out, it was like this crazy technological advancement. Everybody was going crazy.
For a
Everybody wanted it
moment.
sold
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
made all this money. But is it the greatest console ever made? No. Probably not.
Yeah.
You know, it just was a technological marvel.
Yeah.
And to speak on like your point of like marketing, James Cameron is absolutely a marketing genius. He understands more than anybody else the way that you make money in film now, the way that you make your money back if you're going to take a huge risk is you distribute the film globally, because all the money that he's making back, I mean, he's made $250 million roughly domestic. That's how much he's made
Yeah.
back on this movie so far. He's made $800 million globally back. And part of the reason he keeps the story and the plot and the premise so simple
So
is
can
because
air.
he needs it to get approved in places like China.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
good
it's a
point.
global appeal.
Because even
Yeah.
Marvel started grappling with some issues with China these last couple of years,
Exactly.
and that's what they do too. Is they have a worldwide distribution, which a lot of these more artsy films can't get through.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're all subtitled in papyrus.
Also, wait, I thought the planet's name was Pandora. Is that just what the humans call it?
No, it's called
No
Pandora,
clue.
isn't it?
I feel like the Zoe Mama Sully. I feel like she was like
Theory.
No, they call it Awa.
Awa. They all called it
that's
Awa.
The mother, yeah.
I
But
think
I thought
Pandora.
they translated into the English.
No, Pandora is just the fucking American given name. They're like, we found Pandora. Like
it's like how we call Germany.
But they're Deutschland, yeah. Or it's literally, I was gonna say Christopher Columbus came over here and was like, "This is India." And they're like, no. And he's like, I'm India.
They're Indians.
He's like, this is India. They're all Indians.
God, that is so funny.
They don't understand what I'm asking.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I mean, just going back to earlier what we said, these are good films.
Yeah.
I just don't think they're as great as people are trying to make them out to be. Like, there's such a lack of nuance. Like, everything has to be the greatest movie, or everything has to be the worst movie.
The young people in my theater walked out. I had 2 separate groups walk out during mine, and they were all young, I noted. Because the rest of my theater was really old.
Yeah.
That's hard to do for a young person nowadays. Going to see a movie that's VFX heavy.
For 3
It's hard
hours.
to get them to walk out. Yeah.
I know it sounds like we're on the side saying this is an awful movie, but it's like, no, they're fine. Things can
Rein
be
it in.
fine. Okay. Yeah. Just like be realistic. Like
We're the other side of the
about the marvels and flaws of this movie.
Because there's Evan hit it best. There's good things about this movie. I do think, I know we may have varying degrees here. I think I liked it more than the first one. I think if you were to put a gun to my head and said, watch one of these 2 again, I'd watch the second one. But that being said, if they're just as long moving forward, there's no way I'm continuing to see them in theaters. Yeah. Here's my problem. Because, Alex, you're such a hypocrite. You loved Zack Snyder's 4-hour Justice League movie. What are you talking about? Here's the difference, people. I was at my home. Yeah. I was at my home. I start to feel like a little claustrophobic being in the movie theater that long. And it's no fault of the movie theater. It's no fault of whatever. Especially after COVID, my attention span's a bit shorter. And that's part of why I go see a movie versus watching a TV show. Now, I actually have a different question as well. Brendan, did you tell me yours had acts, like break scenes?
So, I mean, the movie is broken up. No, we didn't have intermissions per se, but when in the movie they fade to black and then it comes on a different scene. Did you guys not have that?
No.
So the movie, intentionally, the way they structured it, it was broken up into 5 acts, I'm pretty sure. And at the end of each act, it was at the moments where, big thing would happen and it would end, and then it would randomly cut to like something completely different. It was like, oh, whoa, okay, we're in a different space now. Well, at least in my theater, it would cut to black. It would fade out into black, and it would pause for a second, and then the next act would come on. So that was how it went, and they were all pretty well paced. The last act was like a whole third of the movie, like, like act, huge long wait, and then last act, it was like last act and then huge long wait, and then the end of the movie. So some things were okay paced. There was other parts that were like actually horrendously paced. There was some repetitive parts.
The middle part. Oh my fuck.
Yeah, the middle part was bad. Here's what I don't understand. We started off with it being narrated by Jake. We lose that, which is fine. It comes back, I shit you not, for 3 lines in the middle of narration, and never again for the whole movie. Not even at the end, really. Oh, at the end, he gets, I guess, but it's like on him. So I guess that's kind of different. Like, that's more, I'm thinking that's like his thoughts, his inner thoughts, instead of like him narrating what's going on story-wise. That feels a bit different. But you're right. Yeah, he got a voiceover at the end. Yeah. But there was legit narration at the beginning and a little bit in the middle. Yeah. And it never came back.
In the beginning, he's catching us up to speed about everything that's happened. And then towards the end, he wraps it up with a neat little bow. Yeah.
I don't know. There was literally a part in the middle where they're in the water and he starts narrating again. And I was like, forgot dude could narrate. It's been so long.
Yeah. It starts off with a story about, Jake and his family leaving. And then this whole middle portion of the movie is about his family assimilating. But more specifically, it's about his kids, which is fine. I'm okay.
There was some interesting parts.
There were some interesting parts. it drags in this middle portion where his kids are getting
So
bullied, and it's like, okay, get to the fucking point. And then his younger son befriends a whale, and then there's a whole, oh my god, like an hour and a half into the movie, they introduce a whole whale hunting subplot with a new mini boss who has a cartoonish mini boss who says stuff like "Let's get this bang" or like some weird.
Let's get this bang. He literally said that.
He literally said
his
that.
Number 2
what does that fucking
was
mean?
Jermaine. Let's get this bank. It means let's get this
Did
money.
he said? Oh, I thought he said bang. I was like, what are you talking?
No, he said bank. He's
No,
just like
bank.
a douchey sales
Okay,
boss.
okay.
He's like a
But then-
he's a sales boss.
Yeah, but then they also after he's introduced like 2 hours into the movie, then they also introduced like a sort of not really a MacGuffin, but a new substance that they have to obtain on the planet. And it's like, I don't care at this point. We're
He
2
goes,
hours into this
"Yeah."
movie.
He said this grants eternal life. Huh? What?
Oh yeah, they
What?
dropped that bomb all subliminally.
Are
Pretty-
you
Pretty
shitting?
casual.
There, that one line is like James Cameron setting up the whole rest of the series.
I go,
he's like,
okay.
he's like, oh yeah, they'll remember this in 15 years.
Jesus. Also, I'm sure we've talked about this, but I thought her name was Eddie Falco, but it's Edie Falco. She was the captain
general.
of the U.S. Government now. She's like, we're here to build like a planet. Like, we're here to live here now. Earth's done. So I think it's really funny. The first one, they're like, oh, we're just here as miners. And now they're like, no, we need a new home. So like Earth's, they fucked it in their short amount of time at home.
Yeah,
And so
doesn't
Edie
seem like
Falco-
it's been that long.
Yeah, I know. Edie Falco did an interview on The View where she said she shot her scenes for the movie over 4 years ago, and she assumed the movie had just come out and had flopped because she heard nothing about it. So she was shocked when all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, Avatar, Way of Water. She's like, I did that forever ago.
Yeah, she never even checked. She never
Didn't even,
Googled it.
didn't check, didn't know. Just assumed.
I was like, well, no one's brought that up to me yet, so I'm gonna just keep
Can't
living
win
my
them
life.
all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her character was so annoying. It had the exoskeleton. Well, there was an unreal
bad.
number
Holding
of
the
people
coffee.
drinking coffee. There was her exoskeleton always had a coffee mug. And I couldn't believe it.
Really trying to drive home the point how casual all this future tech is. It's like, okay, we get it. It's a fucking exoskeleton. Kate Winslet also joins the cast. She was the queen of the new tribe, I think.
Oh,
Something like
I
that.
didn't know.
I believe. Yeah.
I liked her.
She's the wife who's pregnant.
You guys think if I just start hissing at people I disagree with, they'll understand the reference? Like,
Oh,
does
for
Avatar
sure.
have that big of a cultural impact?
No,
People were like,
because-
Avatar was so good. And I go,
Here's
did
how
they
you know.
do that in the
Fuck
first
no.
one?
I don't
No.
remember.
I don't think so.
I feel like they
If
did.
they,
Through
if
the
they,
movie, I go, I don't remember them doing that.
People talk about this as the greatest movie ever, but it really doesn't have that big of a cultural imprint. Or this movie specifically, I'll talk about maybe is because have you seen one single Avatar meme since this movie has come out? Nobody's parodying this. No one's making
good
jokes
point.
about it. No one's sending memes to their friends because you watch it and it's a good viewing experience, but the story doesn't.
but
stick
it's not
with you
relatable.
because it is a pretty simplistic narrative, and it's
So-
well executed. But if you're going to
it's
try
too
to make
broad
the point,
base.
yeah,
I think
you're
you're
trying to make the point
and
that
I
this
do
is
think
the greatest
memes
movie
are like
ever. I think you're wrong.
I think memes are like a touchstone as
Mm-hmm.
to like how popular or relevant something is. I'm not even trying to make like a joke, but like the more memes you see of something, the more people like understand and are in
yeah.
on that inside joke. Yeah, like I get what you're saying.
It's part of
It-
the zeitgeist at that point.
Yeah.
yeah,
hasn't
good
broken
word,
in.
Good word.
You know, despite the huge box office numbers, not one person at work or in Slack has been like, "Hey, has anyone seen the new Avatar?" You're like, "No." You know, I'm just chronically online, so I see people talking about this movie, and we have a podcast where we watch stuff, so we you know kind of
the
have to be talking
subreddit
about and keeping
was
up with
shockingly dead.
Yeah.
I checked out the subreddit recently, dead, which I was like, guys, the movie's out. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the problem. And look, we're like 30 minutes in, and we could give you a recap of like what happens. It will be done by 45 minutes. Like, there's just not a ton like of plot points that occur like Brendan said, all the stuff happens in the last act, like in the last like hour of the movie. They're like, oh wait, all these things happen now. The whale hunters and the army and the water tribe, they're all gonna clash. Yeah. And there was the most ridiculous, repetitive thing at the end there. He's got 3 kids kidnapped, and then Jake Scully comes in and they do this big battle, and then they get 1 kid, and 2 of the same kids get kidnapped again. And he's like, all right, Scully, we got the same deal as before. I was like, we just did 45 minutes and we ended up in the same spot?
Yeah.
I go, well, what was the point of all that? It's just, like Brendan said, it's lazy. It feels lazy more than anything because you can have all of that happen and still make it not, like, there were so many lazy lines. Literally, he's talking to him in the earpiece and he's like, listen, we got the same deal as before. And Scully's mourning over his son. Like, he's not like responding. And he goes, I'm going to assume you're listening. Why? Why would you assume he's listening right now? There's no he had so many bad lines, the general, where he had leaps in logic too. I was just like, where is he getting this idea from? He at one point goes, you already lost 1 son tonight. How did he know that? How did he know that? How did he know that?
Because he saw them retreating. I'll be the devil's advocate.
Also, they did a funeral at the end for the son. Did they only lose 1 person in this battle? That's amazing if that's true.
Yeah.
I know, everyone else disappeared after they got into the heat of the battle. I was like, where did all those...
You had an army.
Where did that group of people go?
Unreal.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Crazy. Also, can we just talk about how much easier it was for this general who like was just born as an avatar to like tame this beast that was like a whole half of the movie?
Took 3 hours last time.
Yeah, it took so long for them to get a hold of these beasts, and this guy did it in like 5 minutes.
I could have done with less animal bonding scenes. After the first one, I fucking get it. I get it. They're connected with
You don't
nature.
like when the tentacles all do the thing?
That's fine, but they connect with 6 different animals in this movie. I only need it once, and then
I know,
they have
how many
Quaritch
animals
do it.
have them?
I did think from the first one it was like, this is your animal. You know what I mean? I
thought it was like your starter Pokemon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
They
Like,
have-
this is
they
your
have
one.
all the
And
kids
they're like,
do it.
we trade in the freaking winged ones for the sea ones now.
Yeah, and then there were the underwater butterfly. It's like, dude, I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
They had the kids all bond
She's
with
Navi Jesus.
the like the sea turtle things, Loch Ness monster looking ones, and then Jake has to bond with one that kind of hovers above the water but flutters its tail to propel itself in the water. And then they have the son do the one with the whale.
Way too long.
And then they discover the ones that are the butterfly wings. And then Quaritch does one.
So this is the other thing is they have they were like, oh, this one just provides you oxygen. And I was like, why would you go anywhere without that one? Like, why would you not have one on deck?
Kiri at the end is like summoning the sea animals. There was a herd of the butterfly wings, the underwater breathing ones.
Kiri, do something.
But she doesn't bother bringing those. She's like, I'll just light the way. I don't know. I disagree with a lot of things about this movie, but
a lot of lapses in
under
logic,
2 hours.
for sure.
I think I would have left the movie singing its praises. But
I agree. I really think you could have cut it down
They
if you don't
done
let
it in
James
90
Cameron
minutes.
do his James Cameron stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was parts. It felt like a documentary that I kept saying in my head, like I'm on a tour of Navi. Like I just don't care
It's
enough.
a theme
Like
park ride.
it's a theme. Oh, that's a great way to put it. It feels like a theme park ride and a video game cutscene. Because it just literally the running. It felt like a video game cutscene. Some of the like, oh, here we're at Three Brothers Rocks. Like, oh, okay, this feels like a cutscene. Like,
Yeah. I know Navi geography now.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know this movie is going to be on in Best Buy, the Best Buy TV section for the next fucking 20 years. Just like,
Till Avatar 3 comes out.
It's a nice screensaver, yeah. I don't know.
That being said, we're shitting on it. Like I said, I think it looked a lot better in the water. So I'm not kidding.
Oh, it absolutely did. You know the scene.
Which one?
You know the scene where he's got like he ties his hand up in the leather,
Yeah.
and then he's going and it like fizzles out, I was like, whoa, that CGI was incredible. I don't know if that was real or not, the leather.
I think they had like performers do it though. Like
it's crazy.
I think they still apply
it looks
effects
so good.
to it.
So here's the thing though. The movie ain't going to cost $1 billion also if you take an hour off of this movie, because you'd save so much in visual effects. Like, it's just is so mind-boggling to me. And I also hear James Cameron does visual effects for, like, all of it and then cuts the movie down, which makes it cost even more. Evan's rolling his eyes for people who are just listening. He's so annoyed. So this is the other thing is I want to give James Cameron his respect because, you know, if in Hollywood, in movie-making history, he will be someone we talk about. But man, I'm not kidding. Over these last 2 years of headlines, I've come to like really dislike the guy. Like he seems like a pompous ass. Yeah. Evan sent me an article where James Cameron had to miss the worldwide debut due to COVID. And I was like, I'm not a monster. I feel for the guy. Like he spent so much time on this movie. But like everything else that I've read about him, I've just been like, like it makes me so annoyed.
No notes on his next Avatar script. Well, actually, maybe it was Avatar 4.
Holy fuck!
I think 3 might be.
Yeah, he said Avatar
made.
3. He got one page of notes back for.
I think 3's almost done. So hopefully, ready for this?
3 is almost done.
If 3 comes out at a reasonable time, he probably is going to salvage this to be a successful 5-part series. But like, I'm not kidding. I think he's pulling it out of his ass. This was never intended to be a 5-part series. I think that's the other thing we're missing. I do not think after the first movie was ever intended to be a sequel until a couple years ago when he was like, I could probably make a lot of money if I made a sequel on this. And then instead of a sequel, he was like, no. He's like, it's always been a 5-part series. And you're like, shut up, dude.
They announced the name of the sequel, I think. Did you guys see it?
I did. I think I sent it to you. Brendan, have you seen it? I want your live reaction.
I haven't. What is it?
Okay, Evan, read it. Do you have it?
I don't have it right, but isn't it
okay,
Avatar?
Hold on. I think I got it.
What is it? Something in the air?
I got it. Okay. No. Okay, it is called Avatar.
Is it the Three Brothers Rocks?
No.
No, it's even. You're not. I could give you 100 guesses and you'd never guess it. Okay, it is called.
Oh my god!
Avatar, the Seed Bearer.
What does that fucking mean?
Okay.
What in the world?
I'm gonna give you an actual prediction.
Who is bearing the seed?
I'm gonna give you an actual prediction.
What?
I think one of the trees comes up under attack, and they have to plant a new one somewhere. That's my guess.
Do you think it's
that
the
was
government?
the whole plot of the first movie? Was the big tree fucking getting destroyed by the government?
Then maybe not.
Also, the fact that he didn't die, I literally was like, this guy's gonna be the villain in every movie. I thought he died.
Spider's gonna freaking join him, and
I will say, I like the moral greatness. I like Spider was like, this guy actually saved my life by putting his knife down. I'm gonna return the favor. Like, I like Spider's just sort of internal struggle that he almost like hasn't come to terms with yet. Like he hasn't even started, like it's just starting to bubble over. So like the Spider stuff was a bit interesting to me, but like for the most part, like also, how did we not see Spider's like little Spider? What is all the outfits here? Like, I swear to God, there was so many times his little loincloth was flapping, and I was like, oh. I was like, okay, no, I know,
right?
Shit.
You got Top Gun over here controlling the speed, and then Tarzan in the loincloth right next to him in the same frame. I was like, what movie is this? It's man, it was so bizarre. James, to your point though, you know, when you're James Cameron and you made Titanic, you know, you can be an asshole.
I'm pretty sure South Park made fun of James Cameron being an asshole, and I didn't get it at the time. I was kind of like, what? I don't know why they.
James Cameron in Hollywood is notoriously an asshole. There are stories of his crew poisoning him with PCP.
Oh my God! You sent me this.
They made shirts that said, I survived James Cameron. Fuck James Cameron. Like, these people hate him. But it's because he asks the impossible from them. And then
you're going to make this alien look possible. Wet. I swear to God.
Yeah, and they say, James Cameron, that's not possible, sir. You better fucking figure it out. We got $2 billion, so go ahead.
This alien's
or $1 billion
eyes are going to be drained of life by the time he says his last word, I swear to God. And yeah, that's like, there are points where you could get lost, like you forget, like, oh yeah, this is all visual effects. Because I think that's where I always go to is like them touching things or things touching them. How realistic does it look? So like her like napping in the grass, that looked good, but like the grass looked like cartoon grass, like not cartoon, like video game grass. Like that's once they got out of the forest, I'm not kidding. The visual effects for me like jumped up like night and day. Whereas before I was like, I don't know, I don't get why everyone loves this so much. The water was where I really was like, I'm seeing whatever.
The VFX in general, though, they weren't worth 12 years of waiting. That's just bottom line. It's like the movie's whole selling point was the VFX. It wasn't worth the 12 years of waiting.
Not at all.
I think one thing that makes it a tough sell is that the Na'vi, as good and almost hyper realistic as they look, they're not super expressive. They've got like two expressions, which is a blank face and a furrowed brow.
Oh, Evan, you're
And that's
so
about
right.
it. And it makes it hard to connect with Jake Sully, with his family.
I got like the most random bit of tidbit, and not to follow up Evan's really great point, but that is so good. Is their facial expressions are lacking? They just maybe that's how the Na'vi are designed. Did you notice the one water one, the one teal that had the Sammy haircut from Survivor?
Yes, yeah.
It looked he popped up on screen. I was like, Sammy?
God. Even he had the same build too. He looked like Machoke.
He literally did, bro.
So funny.
I was screaming. That's a
God.
reference only Survivor fans will get, but it looked just like him. So
That was something that I did really like. I didn't realize that the people were different colors. That was a
they were a
nice
different
touch.
shade.
That was a nice detail that they evolved differently. This new tribe of Na'vi.
Tails.
They have wider arms. They have tails that can propel them in water. And I think a better movie would have just let that detail be in the background, and an astute observer would be like, "Oh, that's
spend
neat
so
detail."
much
But
time
they
explaining
point it out, like
Yeah.
your tails are different,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Yeah, I
Several
could have gone
times.
without the tail discrimination.
Yeah.
That would have. I didn't need that to understand.
I also felt like they got a little bit of hate, and then people were warming up to him, and then it was just like bully to 11 again. I was like, hold on. The pacing always felt really off to me. And then even after they made friends, they still weren't like actually friends, but they kind of were. It was interesting. And they were like the only
right,
kids in the village.
I got a
other
question
friends.
for you guys. I think we've pointed out the few things that we do like. What was, in your opinion, the worst part of the movie? The worst moment?
I have, moment? Mine's
Just
moments.
the worst like moment where, sure, whatever. But like, what's the moment where you're in the theater and you're thinking, oh my God, what is going on?
If you break it up into 3 hours, it's at the end of hour 1 and like most of hour 2. It's so boring. It, like Evan said, it does not trust its audience with anything. It explains every little detail. We went over the tail shit so many times. We get it. And then he had to give us a visual of it, like a long, drawn out visual of it. And I was like, dude, trust your audience. We're not dumb. We understand that a thicker tail swishing back and forth is going to make them fucking better swimmers. And it just like... It literally, if they chopped almost every scene in half, it would have just been like so much better. And so I don't know. I'm sure if you give me a second, I'll think of a moment. But like I said, it's just in the middle. It just was literally so boring, in my opinion.
It's agonizing almost.
Yes.
yeah.
Evan, do you have a moment or moments?
I mean, I agree. It's that middle portion, and it's more. I'll say for story and narrative reasons, it's like the first maybe 30 to hour of the movie. They set up Quaritch coming back. Jake Sully and his family's on the run. That's the central conflict of this movie. And then take this long roundabout detour to go into saving the whales, which I get. Beautiful message.
Like the whales, though.
But that's a different movie altogether. They
yeah.
put a 90-minute movie in this 3-hour movie of like saving the whales. The little whale hunter mini villain who gets like a graphic kill off scene, gets his arm fucking mangled, which is like kind of
that was a cool moment though.
A moment, yeah. There was a moment before he gets killed off. He's in the little speedboat with Jermaine Clement, and they're hunting the whale with the missing fin, and they're getting kind of outsmarted by this whale. And Jermaine Clement goes, "I thought you were supposed to be the intelligent species," and someone clapped, and I was like, "Really? Like that did it for you? Like that line?"
That was my moment too, because in this action sequence, I'm actually starting to enjoy it. Things are picking up. Things are good. Jermaine, I love Jermaine. He's in one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Flight of the Conchords. And he did an amazing American accent where I actually questioned if it was him. I recognized him, and I was like, that can't be him. Back to it. Him all of the sudden being on death's doorstep from the whales after going a decent amount of time career whale hunting. Now, on death's doorstep, he's like sarcastically rooting for the whale. I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
In your last living moments, dude, you're not all of a sudden team whale.
Yeah, dude. No, you're all in survival mode.
Yeah, exactly. It took me out of it. It really took me out of the moment when I was really in it.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, it feels like they wrote the script up to that point, and then his wife called and said, "Dinner's ready," and he went and ran downstairs, ate dinner, and came back. And
was like, where was
all
I?
stuffed, fat, and happy. Yeah, where was I? That's what it feels like.
It took me out.
For me, I have to say, my least favorite moment, and it's sad because it's probably in the most cutting moment of the whole movie. It's when his son is dying, and his son is like on the ground looking up, and he's like, "Dad, I have to tell you."
Yeah. No,
he dies. Like, what?
I know, it was too cheesy.
What is that? Oh my God, it made me like kick and scream in my seat. Like, there's no way you just did that.
He spends all of the seed bearer being like, what was he gonna tell me? What was he gonna tell me?
Yes. And then Jake has no follow-up. There's no like, what were you gonna say?
No emotional reaction.
What were you gonna say? He was like, well, he's dead. All right.
And you feel that in that moment, he dies, and it's like, I actually couldn't even begin to imagine what he was about to say because I don't know anything about this character. Like, and they don't. He
got the least screen time. Of all the that honestly, if you had told me one of them was gonna die,
end of everything,
I could have told you it would have been him because the others all have plots. Even the baby who had so little screen time has more of a plot than the older brother.
His younger brother, his villain arc just started.
His younger brother, the last thing he said to him, he was like, "I gotta go talk to this whale." He's like, "You're no brother of mine. He's my brother." That was sad, and then it just breaks out into all-out war. So that was, but we never highlight it. Like, there's no moment of him being like, I didn't get to say sorry. Like, I didn't mean it. Hopefully that's coming. But, like, that would have made this death more, like, I wasn't sad about the death until they were burying him, if I'm being honest. And then I questioned, I was like, is he the only one who died?
But yeah, they couldn't figure out whether they wanted to focus on the characters or on, like, the planet, like the overworld.
I'm a character guy.
I am too. I wish they had done more of it.
So
I think they scratched the surface a little.
Some of the praises that people sing for these movies are perhaps the themes outside of the visual, and it kind of asks you to grapple with this idea of colonialism and environmentalism.
Save the planet.
But they don't actually ask you to engage with those ideas. Of course, people are going to love a white savior movie where the hero is naturally good at everything in the native world, and then also makes you feel some of the things about these real world struggles without actually sort of engaging with those ideas. I don't think that's necessarily deserved praise. And I know he has gotten some heat in the past for comments he's made about, like, the Lakota actual indigenous American people should have just fought harder. They didn't try hard enough. It's like, I don't know. I don't think he is.
That's the story of the Na'vi. They just fought harder.
Yeah.
So, and that's how they overcame the Sky People. There is a very fine line of, like, having a theme and, like, asking the audience, like, to put yourself in some shoes or, like, grapple with a tough decision or, like, this, that, or whatever. This movie really does not do that. It just uses these general themes, like you said, almost as like sympathy points. I think that's actually a really good point.
I'm going to compare it to another thing we recently covered. It's like,
Yeah.
it's like I mean, granted, this movie does a better job of exploring it, but it's like in Black Adam when the kid in the first 10 minutes, they're like, these are our oppressors. Shut up, oppressor guy at the traffic stop. Like, oh, and it's like this pseudo colonialism message, but don't actually dig into it. It's just like a fact, and
Very
it's a made up country, so it's like
surface
it's
it's the
really
most
not
surface level thing you
Yeah.
can write to just so the audience knows it.
And-
It's not something
and
you
this
actually
is-
want to focus on, but it's
Yeah.
you have to make it presently known to the audience.
Yeah, and this is a much
Um,
better exploration of it, or maybe
Than the first
it's
one.
a more in depth than Black Adam is per se, but I don't think it's
I
actually.
needed you
asking
here
to
a couple
grapple
weeks
with
ago,
anything.
Brendan, for Black Adam. I hated it.
Oh
They all
my
hated it,
God.
and I loved it.
You
and
know,
Brendan had a
but
blast.
you know what? You know what? I'm actually glad you brought this up. I think it's valuable in this conversation because Black Adam is another movie that wasn't a very script heavy movie. I could not even tell you
True.
what went on or like mattered
Plot
in terms
points.
of like the plot. Like it wasn't
Yep.
that great of a plot movie. But the VFX, I sure as hell remember Dwayne the Rock Johnson barreling down the camera, looking like a mighty
That's the
beam.
coolest
I remember
shot.
him disintegrating someone
It is,
via
dude,
lightning.
yeah.
Him looking like
Exactly.
a mighty bean.
Yeah, the one shot that I remember, or the one line that I remember, is when whoever the supporting was like, "You're gonna be on lunch boxes." He was like, "I don't need a box for my lunch."
It's so good.
Like,
This is what
something badass.
That was my defense
Yeah.
for the movie too.
Oh my god, every line he said, badass.
This is
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
It
is
was funny, but it was like
they
it
could
didn't
have done
take
that with
itself so
Avatar.
serious. That
but
was
he was too
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg. He needs to have actually assimilated to the Navi. I'm not joking. He has like his. It's just in the way he
Mark
speaks.
Wahlberg.
Like it would be small things. Like
I'm also laughing at the sticker Evan just said.
it's the fucking
Dwayne The Rock
Dwayne The
Johnson.
Rock Johnson. So the thing with that is like, oh, I lost my train of thought. It just like, I don't know.
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg, he like lost. So he is like, I can see it, Evan.
He's coming in hot.
What's going on right now?
We're
Oh my
freeballing.
God.
He called people of Earth sky people, but I genuinely think he only did that because that's all they would be able to refer to them by. He changed nothing else of his dialect. He was just literally New York Sam, whatever his name is. And so I just wanted to see more of like, Zoe's character barely can speak. Like how, maybe that's something I'm missing, but I felt like he talked to the water people the whole time. So I don't know. It just was like, he doesn't feel like his kids, I get, are supposed to be part of both worlds. Like they were like the demon blood. You have the 4 fingers. That was another one. I was like, did I miss that from the first movie? I don't remember them only having 3 versus 4 fingers. Whatever. But that was another one they spent so much time on, the discrimination of it. And it was just like, I think we get it with a couple of examples. Just because I don't think it would be worth anyone's time to go through this beat by beat because we've hit most of the major plot points here. What have we not discussed, either good or bad, about the movie that, before we start wrapping up here, you think needs to be noted? What do either of you guys have anything?
I think the general viewing experience for your everyday moviegoer would be a lot greater in this movie if there were more colors outside of just turquoise. I really enjoyed the
much blue.
visuals. The visuals really added a lot to the story for me.
Yeah.
When it turned to nighttime and they added the green and the red. And I know that's such a small, minute detail because it's a more visual, it's a visceral thing. But
Waterworld, baby.
But man, just sitting and staring at the same color for 2.5 hours is really hard. Or 3 hours is really hard. And I think they did that because they were so limited technologically, and they figured if we're gonna take this big leap, we may as well set ourselves up for success. It's kind of the same thing that Dune did. Dune from last year did. They used a lot of brown screen instead of green screen just because they wanted to match that colorway. But as we go further into the future and these sorts of technologies become more, household, I guess is a good way to put it. These movies are going to start being made in a similar fashion, but they're going to be able to incorporate a lot more color, and it's going to make things look a lot more natural, and it's going to be really, really cool. Overall, if I had to sum up the movie, I'll throw this one to my father. I asked my dad, if you could sum up the movie in one sentence, what would you say? And he didn't even use the full sentence. He just said underwhelming. So,
all right.
Shout
out Eric Smith.
Yeah, that was good, Brendan. Thank you. Go ahead, Evan.
Shout out.
This movie set a Guinness World Record, I believe, for longest underwater scene or take. And I think Kate Winslet set the record with like a 7-minute underwater scene. What scene was that? There's no scene where her character is underwater for an extended period of time. I'm sure it's on the cutting room floor. Underwhelming is a good way to put it. If you're thinking about going to watch this movie, I want to give you the best analogy that I can of what that experience would be like within this podcast. It would be like if we started covering a different movie right now for the next hour and then came back to Avatar 2 in hour 3. So, I don't know. It was too long. I'm sure we're coming off hot because it's so fresh, and it is a fine movie. It is okay. You will probably enjoy it. It's a little long. Go to the bathroom before you do. But if movies that drag on are not your thing, if tight, scripts and storylines are your thing, you probably won't enjoy this or enjoy it as much as people are raving about it online.
Agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so my closing thoughts here. I think the big thing with the movie is while my bar was so low, it probably met my expectations. Like, my bar was so low, like, I was not thrilled going into it, and maybe I left a little more excited about it than I was like really dreading seeing a 3-hour movie and podcasting for an hour plus about a movie I didn't like. I was like, that sounds like a horrible, horrible way to spend my day off. I'm just not even going to lie. Like, I only have so many days off. This is not how I want to spend it. It's talking 4+ hours about Avatar Way of Water. But I think that I, without this podcast, would not have gone and seen it. And I guess I'm a little glad I saw it in a theater versus my TV screen, because that's how it's meant to be viewed. But I cannot understate enough how bad it is that I don't know every main character's name, or like the fact that I only know like 3 main characters' names. That's probably the better way to put it.
Know, yeah.
Yeah. There's only like a few of them that I actually know. And it cannot be understated that this movie is just unnecessarily long. Like, that is my biggest takeaway, that if you shave an hour off this movie, I think you will actually have something that is...
It's a banger.
I think
almost.
It's actually like pretty solid. If you can make this a tight...
If you cut the middle out.
If you cut the middle, cut the bullshit, and make it like a well-paced movie. That was honestly my big thing, is the pacing was so ass. The pacing was so ass, it actually had me believe it was going to end at an inappropriate spot and like leave you hanging for a third one, because the pace. And I was like, if I sit through a 3-hour movie and there's no conclusion, I'm going to be I'm going to boo. I'll boo in this theater of this crowded theater. And I think this was a good representation of it. I had a couple people that left, but we had a few people that clapped after it was over. And I think most people will fall somewhere in between. I don't think I don't think I would have left. Like, okay, maybe this is a hot take. You know what? This is going to be a hot take. I can already tell. I think I enjoyed it more than The Fabelmans. I thought that movie was so bad. So, I just think if you can take an hour off this movie, it is actually something I could say like, oh yeah, I totally get why you are into Avatar as a whole. Like, but I just don't, maybe it's just me. Maybe I have ADHD. I'm antsy in theaters. Like, around this hour and a half mark, I was like, okay, I gotta be close. And I was like, I'm halfway. No, dude, no.
It is a controversial movie though, so it will sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. It's gonna. That's the other thing. I don't think it's gonna flop. I think it's gonna break a record.
No.
I think it'll do fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's gonna be great. And so, like, I also don't want to take away from people that are like, I really love this movie, but I want to bring the conversation to a little more realistic of a point. I think that's the whole purpose of it. Like, it was good. It was good. Let's talk about it from a good, not a great perspective.
People that are defensive about the movie, they're like, it made $1 billion at the box office. You know what? Another movie about a world underwater that made $1 billion, Aquaman. And I love that movie, but I know it's bad.
That is no indication of how good or bad a movie is. And I have to agree.
Yeah, and I think that is where James Cameron's marketing, back to your earlier point, really ties together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a master at having people say, why don't you, go and make your own opinion.
The one that really pissed me off was the people like, oh, when are you going to use the bathroom in a 3-hour movie? He was like, just whenever you want. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, that's so how can you say miss parts of my movie whenever you want? It made me so mad.
Because do it when my son dies. The scene sucks anyways.
Yeah, it's like he wanted you to miss certain things. And I told Evan this actually before I went to the bathroom 3 times because we're on a planet of water. Like, it's gonna make people have to go pee.
Yeah.
Unfucking believable. I went 3 times, almost every hour mark.
I'm surprised I made it through without going to the bathroom.
I
was immediately anxious, though. I was immediately anxious about it.
Okay. That was some good closing thoughts. Do we have news? Letterbox? What do you want to do, Evan?
This is on the more favorable side. 4 stars. Leaving Pandora and coming back into our shit reality. After the movie ends, top 10 saddest moments. And I get that they're perhaps being hyperbolic about like, oh, I felt so sad to leave Pandora. But why? Nothing about the movie makes me so enthralled with the world of Pandora.
The Letterboxd review is talking about missing Pandora when you leave, like wanting to leave. Pandora's not like the type of world like where like not to bring this up, but like the Harry Potter world where you're like, I want to live at Hogwarts and do magic. Like, who wants to be like, I want to camp out on Na'vi and like swim underwater for several minutes? And like, I just don't see that. Maybe I'm not a camper. I don't know. Like, I guess the How to Train Your Dragon parts are the only times I'm like, yeah, that's when I want to be there. But like, other than that, like, it's a dangerous fucking world. I kind of don't want to live there.
War torn. Like, I don't want to be there. What the hell?
Yeah, what the heck? So, yeah, that was a favorable review, though. Let me pull up one here.
Die without the oxygen mask.
Yeah. So I was literally like, I was like, what a good move they took Spider out, because no way he's breathing underwater in this new water world. But then he comes and his oxygen mask, I was like, oh, it's now a scuba mask. I was like, okay, great technology.
It just works all purpose.
Yeah. I don't have any reviews, Evan. Do you? You have another one? I'm sorry.
One more. 2.5 stars. It's better than the first. I agree with that.
2.5 stars. Better than the first. I agree. Brendan, do you agree? Think it was better or worse than the first one?
I am going to go with the first one, honestly. Wow. But I think for me, that really does come down to viewing experience. I was 9 years old. It's one of the few movies from when I was a kid that I still remember sitting down and like actually watching for the first time. I don't remember a whole lot, but I do remember, wow, those blue people look super freaking real.
Yeah.
And that was, as a 9-year-old, like that we were watching like VHS tapes back then. So for that kind of technology to come out in theaters, I was madly impressed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really cool.
I mean, for this specific movie, I was more interested to see his follow-up after this 13-year gap between the first and the second. After this movie, it was a fine movie. I don't need to see the third. I don't think there's
I need to see
anything
the third,
that will be able to get me back. Yeah. Yeah.
If it's on streaming, let's play this game. How soon do you guys think this will be on streaming? How long do you think he tries to ride out the movie theaters? Because back in the day, he would have done it like a whole year, in all honesty. But I don't think you can do that anymore.
The standard
how many
window
months?
is 45 days now.
There's no way he does that. He won't do the norm.
No, he'll probably do like 60.
60 days. I was thinking he's going to try to squeeze.
Give it 2 more weeks.
I think what will happen is it'll go out of theaters, and then like a month later, he's going to be like, for the last time in theaters before streaming, and it'll be in theaters again for a month in 2023. That's my guess. Like, catch it one last time before it goes away forever in theaters. And my guess is that's legit going to be like June. It's going to be ridiculous. I'm calling it. So, that's like I said, a lot of people love it. Some people don't like it. We're we're in the middle here. We're staunchly in the middle / bottom middle. Underwhelmed. As Eric Smith said, underwhelmed.
Yeah.
What do you have any news, Evan, that we want to get to? Anything pressing? We covered the name of the third one. That was my most pressing news. The Seed Bearer.
What is it again?
Announced.
The Seed Bearer.
Oh, they just botched that.
The tweet actually says, the tweet's pretty funny. It says, Avatar, the Seed Bearer, and Sonic the Hedgehog 3 will premiere in theaters on the same day, December 20, 2024. Which one will you go see first?
Sonic 3, baby.
Evan says Sonic, so okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the quote tweet says, Avatar the what? Because it's Avatar the Seed Bearer.
The what? That is bizarre, dude.
Super
was my
Nintendo
news.
World opens at Universal Studios in Hollywood on February 17th, 2023.
That's soon in February. That's
2
crazy.
months.
Oh, I got one. Stranger Things is coming out with an anime spin-off. What? I don't know. Okay, I'm interested.
All right.
It'll take place in Tokyo as in the 1980s as some teens deal with the Upside Down. Okay,
Cool.
I'm here for an anime. Interesting. Okay, I don't have any more news. I think the big one was the Seed Bearer. I'm trying to say it as many times as I can now before we finish.
Avatar 4, Cum Dumpster.
Yep.
Oh my god. That's why they said holy fuck.
Yeah. That's why they said holy fuck. Yeah, that's good. Okay.
Oh man. Yeah. Not a great movie. I will say I probably had more fun talking badly about the movie
I had a good
than
time
I did
here.
actually going and seeing the movie. It was a good time. Thanks for having me on, boys.
course.
Pleasure as always.
Let's wrap up here. Evan, you have anything last you want to get out before I wrap us up?
No, I'm all good.
Okay.
God, I got to take a picture of the freeze frame Evan's been on.
Okay, get a picture of it. Evan's like smiling like it's going to be what he's doing. Okay.
Yeah, I know. You're going to see it.
All right, so
The Rock.
let me decide us off here. So for more Two Dudes, please check us out on Apple, Spotify, also on YouTube. Our YouTube's been growing actually a lot lately. Go check it out, subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Two Dudes Watch Cartoons. And if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rate and review, as well as you can follow us on Spotify. Evan just got the picture. He's laughing
pretty
hysterically. So we appreciate you guys coming and listening to us, air out our grievances of Avatar Way of Water. But whether you enjoyed it or not, thank you for being here with us.
That'll do it for this episode of the podcast. Sorry about the technical difficulties, Brendan. We will catch you next time.
Two dudes watch cartoons.
It's not loading.
You could just add it.
Whatever. Yeah, I'll just add it.